Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Here we are in front of the Freedom Tremor. This is the last time you're gonna see the Freedom Tremor in my driveway, because very soon it's gonna be in someone else's driveway, whoever wins this giveaway. So if you don't know, if you're just tuning in now, this is a truck I've been building and modding and kind of adventuring in for the last year. It's been a year that I've had it now, 1 year. And we're giving it away, raising a bunch of money for this organization called A21, an anti-human trafficking organization. So it's a big kind of charity drive event where the winner is gonna win the truck. So I'm here and actually wearing some of the merch here. So this is the t-shirt. This is one way you can enter, right here. And you can get a sweatshirt and a hat and also this patch right here. So a lot of people have asked, is there a way to just donate money? I just want to be the most efficient, just donate money. I think the cause is awesome. I'd love to win the truck as well. This is your best bet. Limited edition patches, the only way you're gonna get these is by entering for this giveaway and supporting the charity. Buy as many of these as you want. Give them to your friends, stick them on your headliner, stick them on your rifle case, whatever. These patches. Limited edition, get you entries to win the truck. So this video is actually a little ride along with a representative from A21. So the charity that we're giving all this money that we raised to sent someone out to Colorado, and I just kind of asked her a bunch of questions, picked her brain, found out more about human trafficking, what A21 actually does, like physically, what do they actually do? And it was a really great experience, really eye-opening and kind of enlightening for me. Sorry, I got some crazy shadows going on like I usually do in the winter in my driveway. But that's this video. So if you want to find out more about A21, this is the video for you. I hope you enjoy it. It was a good time, super educational. Sorry, wind's picking up a little bit. I don't know if the mic is catching it. But basically, tomorrow I'm taking this truck out to Utah to hang out with my buddy Mike Glover of Fieldcraft Survival. He wanted to take a look at the truck. We might do a video. I may do a video of Fieldcraft HQ. He may do a video on the truck. I don't really know yet, but that's gonna be the last trip. And so Mike Glover's gonna be there. Maybe I'll like throw in some swag or something for the giveaway winner. I don't know. Maybe I'll meet up with my buddy Jack Carr as well while I'm out in Salt Lake. So yeah, last little trip I do with the Tremor. It's gonna be really sad to see it go, but it's been a fun trip, fun cause, fun truck, great times with Diamondback covers. So yeah. Oh, also real quick, I forgot to mention it. This truck, as well as myself, will be at the Great American Outdoor Show out, I think it's in Pennsylvania. I've never been, but Diamondback is gonna have a booth there. This truck is gonna be there all week. It's a super long show. So Great American Outdoor Show, I will probably be there on Saturday. I think it's the 12th. I'll put info down here. There's a 99% chance that I'll be there at the Diamondback booth hanging out pretty much all day. So if you're at that show or want to go to that show or can go to that show and you want to see the truck or you want to meet me or whatever, I will be there on Saturday. I'll put info again right here if I didn't already. And that's like a 99% chance I'm gonna be there. So that's the plan. So unless something comes up, I die or get some crazy case of COVID or something, I'll be there. So if you wanna see the truck, me, Diamondback, hang out. They may have a new product or new products there. I don't know, maybe not. So check it out. I'll probably make one video there and then that's it. Okay, sorry, now we'll get into it. Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. I'm here with Emily.
Hey guys.
From A21. I had this idea where we'd take the truck out to some cool scenic trails.
The mountains in the background that you can't see.
And just as we got here, it started getting crazy windy and snowy. So we may move, but I just want you to know we put in the effort to come to this cool spot.
The commitment was there.
It's just not like, I don't know if you can tell, there's snow building up.
Pelted.
It's kind of almost stings. So we tried, and we're probably gonna go somewhere that's a little less nasty. But this is Emily from A21.
Hi guys.
In today's video, we're talking about the Freedom Tremor,
Yes.
why it exists, and we're gonna dive a little deeper into A21, where all this money's going.
Yeah, the issue of human trafficking.
And how that can all help.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that right now once we get situated out of the storm. Okay, so now we're on the road because the storm was kind of crazy. So for those that are new here, this is the Ford F-250 Tremor, partnered with Diamondback on this truck, and we're calling it the Freedom Tremor because we love freedom. And here, most of you guys that are watching this probably have been able to enjoy freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom to get out and explore and to camp and to pursue all your hopes and dreams.
Life has to offer.
But not everyone has that opportunity.
It's true.
So the Freedom Tremor is founded on this idea of freedom and raising awareness kind of that not everyone experienced freedom.
Yeah.
So we brought Emily out.
Hey guys.
From A21. So A21 is the charity that we chose that all of the money that we raise from this raffle is going to go to support. So as we were talking with Diamondback, I figured, why don't we get someone from A21 out?
Yeah.
We'll talk about what A21 does, kind of educate us a little more on human trafficking, what we should be aware of, what you guys do, where the money's gonna go.
Totally.
And give us some tips, really, because I would love some actionable stuff about this is some stuff you can do to help identify this if you...
And play your part.
Yeah.
To fight human trafficking,
And just kind of talk about everything A21 does.
Yeah.
So Emily, feel free to say, hi, I'm Emily, this is what I do
guys.
at A21.
I'm Emily. I have worked for A21 for about 5 years at this point, and A21, if you guys don't know, stands for Abolishing Slavery in the 21st Century. Kind of a long thing, so we shortened it to A21, but we were founded in 2008, actually in Thessaloniki, Greece. Basically, how we came about was our founders, Christine Kane and Nick Kane. Christine Kane was already speaking all over the world at this point, and she went to Thessaloniki, Greece for a speaking engagement. And when she got to the baggage claim area, there were all these missing children posters. And she is Greek. She was raised in Australia, but she's Greek. So she went and she talked to one of the baggage claim people and asked them, what are these posters? And the person told her these are the alleged victims of human trafficking. And Christine and Nick, they have 2 girls, Catherine and Sophia, and what grabbed her attention was on one of the posters, there was a missing girl whose name is Sophia. And so from that point, Christine, Kane, and Nick were like, what is human trafficking? What does this even mean? Started looking into it, started looking for organizations to support, etc. And they couldn't find one in the area who was doing holistic work. So basically that's how A21 came to be back in 2008, started in Thessaloniki, Greece, and now we have 19 locations in 14 countries all over the world. And we have what we call a 3-pronged strategy. So we think of fighting human trafficking as there's a holistic effort. You want to fight it before it starts. You want to help people get out of that scenario, and then you want to help them get to a place of full independence afterwards. So we have the 3 R's, which is reach, rescue, and restore. So basically reach is what it sounds like. That's all of our education and awareness, curriculums, and video campaigns that we use all over the world to educate people on the problem of human trafficking.
And this is a really important thing that I think. It's awareness. And sometimes there's awareness companies that are doing stuff and you're like, everyone already knows about it. There's not a whole lot of awareness that needs to happen. But we were talking on the drive up, and actually my first kind of exposure to what human trafficking and sex slavery and all that stuff was about 8 years ago. My church, Flatirons, was doing a thing. I was volunteering for some stuff there and helping set up for this organization that did kind of an immersive experience. And it really opened my eyes to human trafficking, like how horrible it was, that it actually happens. Like, I think a lot of people have some idea, like, there's some slavery in the world, probably, but they don't really know what that means.
100%.
So I think the whole education aspect is super important,
massive.
Which is, why we're doing this.
Yeah, it's one of the fastest growing organized crimes, like right up there with drug trafficking and arms trafficking. $150 billion industry. There's an estimated 40.3 million people enslaved all over the globe, which means about 5.4 of every 1,000 individuals is trapped in a trafficking scenario, which is a crazy thought when you think about it. And it is a super complex issue because you're dealing with people. And human trafficking, really how it originates, a lot of people, they might have an awareness on the fact that human trafficking exists, but not really what it is, how it happens, what it looks like. And a lot of people don't know that it happens in every country all over the world. It's not just something that happens in third world countries. It happens actually in our backyard. It happens all over and across America. But basically, the only thing that needs to be present for someone to potentially be trafficked is some level of vulnerability. And that can look very, very different. You can have someone who is in a very wealthy home. You would think they don't have those vulnerabilities, but let's say they're lonely. And let's say they're looking for affection. They're looking for love somewhere because maybe their parents are absent, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the main ways that people get trafficked is through what we call the Loverboy Scenario. So what that means, we were talking about this, is how there is an individual who is a trafficker that poses as a boyfriend. So they will actually start dating this individual, buying them gifts, you know, just like lavishing love on them. A lot of times in like Eastern Europe, they go as far as marrying these individuals. And then from that point, it kind of flips. They're like, hey, I need you to do this for me. We're in a tricky situation. Will you help me out? And it turns into them asking their girlfriend or their wife to start having sex with their friends. But then that can turn into, if they don't want to do it, then that's where it gets violent. There's beatings that happen, blackmailing, because obviously when you're dating someone, they know a lot of your personal information.
Yeah.
They know a lot of things about your life. And so they can start blackmailing your family, all of those things. And so vulnerabilities can look like just loneliness. It can look like, you know, the classic things you would think of, like poverty, areas that have experienced an exchange of power. It can look like so many different things. Anytime there's a vulnerability, that's what the trafficker will prey upon. And then that's how people end up in these scenarios.
So this brings me to a topic that we were, again, Emily and I were kind of talking for the last hour on the drive up on all this stuff. Emily was educating me on a lot of stuff, and it was basically all of the ways that somebody gets into being a slave or being trafficked and stuff. So the Loverboy scenario is one super common scenario, apparently.
Super common in the U.S. especially.
And so what's super important is kind of becoming educated, which this video is not going to be super educational, but A21 has a bunch of resources.
So many resources
for that. So there's stuff you can teach your sons or your daughters if you're a little more educated.
We have parent guides, and that's so you can educate your kids on what human trafficking looks like.
And then there's all kinds of other ways to identify at public transit areas, airports, bus stops, stuff like this, to where if you see something that looks a little fishy, if you didn't quite have the right education, that might just be, some weird parent. But if you know what you're looking for, then you can say, that is likely a human trafficking scenario. And then you have the resources to kind of teach people what to do and how to interact with that kind of stuff.
Totally.
So there's a big educational component of prevention.
For sure.
Really. Because obviously the goal here, the main goal is to prevent people from falling into human trafficking.
Definitely.
You guys do a bunch of stuff to help people that have fallen into that, obviously. But we want to really talk about the main thing of prevention, which is a lot of these educational resources, these movies that you're making, the marches. So a big educational aspect, which is awesome. So when the money's collected through A21, a lot of it is going towards
creating
education.
These educational resources.
Yeah.
So we have educational resources that are used in public schools all over America, high school curriculum, we have primary school curriculums, and then we have different like online anti-human trafficking e-courses that you can take and educate yourself on what it looks like. One of the things we were talking about is how a big role A21 plays is educating who we call frontline professionals in identifying victims of human trafficking. So those would be police officers, people who are nurses, doctors who might come into contact with someone who is potentially being trafficked. And so it's that whole thought of, if you were to see a scenario of human trafficking, would you recognize it and would you know what to do about it? And so basically we have all these different resources that you can use in your business and your sphere of influence to educate not only yourself but others. And then we have videos online. It's called our Can You See Me campaign. And those videos show what human trafficking looks like specifically in the US. We have other videos for other countries as well. And then below those videos, there's a PDF that shows the signs of human trafficking. So you can watch the video and then read the signs and be like, oh, like I didn't realize that was a sign of human trafficking. oh, that makes sense, that if you ever see that, you're able to identify it. And then there's, of course, the hotline number to call, which is like the call to action. Like when you see a potential scenario of human trafficking, call the hotline. And so in America, we have a hotline just for minors, and then we have a hotline for adults. Those are all listed on our website and everything.
And so there's a bunch of resources
Yeah.
that you can look at just as an individual.
Yeah.
But furthermore, if you're a nurse or if you're a police officer,
Yeah.
if you're a teacher at a school, and you're like, I would love to kind of raise some awareness within my
Totally.
organization.
100%.
They have like online courses and
yeah.
stuff available, and they have programs in place that they can basically train a member of your staff to kind of
Yeah.
take that and educate the rest of the staff so they can help, the nurses or something identify like this kid came in and these are
And
kind of the
showing
signs that we're looking for.
Exactly.
And
One thing our founder always says is that it's not one person doing everything, it's everybody doing something. So it's figuring out like, what is your role to play? What can you do to fight human trafficking?
So big educational aspect and awareness aspect involved, obviously, but they're taking actions in other ways. So when I first kind of got into the topic of human trafficking and sex slavery and stuff, it made me really sad, but it also made me super angry, and it made me want to just like grab my guns and a group of guys and just go kill a bunch of these people, right? We can't talk about that too much, and I can't really do that because I would end up in jail. But there are organizations. You guys work a lot with like the FBI and
HSI,
stuff.
Homeland Security, Internet Crimes Against Children,
various
the whole
local
gamut.
police forces and stuff. So they're actually taking action also to find these sex traffickers, these rings, and basically bust them and then take the children out or the adults out in some cases as well, obviously. And then you guys have boots on the ground that are helping kind of identify what kind of care these people need and then providing that care as well.
Yeah, so it's all about each entity playing its proper part. So obviously, FBI, HSI, law enforcement, their job is to enforce the law. Someone like A21, our job is to help the survivor, like get them back to a place of full independence. So we have our reach strategy, then our rescue strategy, and then our restore strategy. So that's how we kind of cover the whole gamut of fighting human trafficking. But under our rescue strategy, that's where we work with authorities to secure freedom for victims of human trafficking, and then also prosecutions to bring these traffickers to justice. So, for instance, we will partner with the police to coordinate raids where, of course, they will go in and they will be the ones to apprehend the perpetrators, but then we'll be the ones to work with the victims of human trafficking. And then those individuals, a lot of them will come into our care and then start receiving services so that they can get their life back, get their freedoms back, because that's what it is all about. They've had their freedoms stripped from them and taken away from them, and so it's our job to use our freedoms to help them gain their freedoms back.
So services basically not only to get them out of slavery, but to get them back acclimated to normal life. And programs for like someone says, you know what, I really want to be a teacher, or I really want to be a nurse, or I would love to just get a job at A21 and continue doing this. You guys have those programs in place to kind of empower these people that are coming out of slavery to kind of take their lives back. Yeah,
so what we do when we have an individual come into our care, we call it like trauma-informed care and survivor-based care. So basically, they tell us what they want. They're like, hey, I want to be a nurse. I want to go to college. I want to get my GED. I want to get a job doing X, Y, Z. And so we work with them with all of the tools we have in our hands, whether that's group counseling, whether that's job skills counseling, whatever it is, the whole gamut. We take all of our resources, put them up in independent housing, help them learn how to budget, just get back on their feet. And we do that through what's called our freedom centers. So our freedom centers are basically like what you guys might be familiar with as like an aftercare shelter. But the difference is our freedom centers, these individuals don't live at the freedom center. It's supposed to kind of mimic like a 9-to-5 experience, so that they're getting used to, like, being out in what would be the normal work hours and scheduling their own schedule to come and take part in our services, et cetera, et cetera. And then a lot of them live in independent housing that we help provide, so that they can start learning how to get back on their feet and start gaining their independence back. And so we don't have just like a cookie cutter, like, hey, you've come into our care, these are the steps. It's, hey, what do you want and how can we help you achieve those goals?
So that's awesome because it's kind of the full gamut. You guys are, A21 is involved in every aspect from education, prevention, education of, you called them kind of frontline
professionals. First responders, you could call them that too,
Yeah, and so that's both helping identify these scenarios and then actually training them on what to do when they do encounter these types of scenarios.
Totally.
So that's really cool. And so when I was talking to Emily, actually, there's some areas that I wasn't aware of, but there needs to be some reform as well in the big picture, because a lot of these people that are committing these human trafficking, sex trafficking crimes, they're not being punished like they should. I mean, they're never going to be punished like they really should. Eventually, and we'll get to that maybe later, but the legal system needs to kind of catch up with this, which is crazy because this is not a new issue. But for some reason, it seems like the justice system is too light on these kind of people. So this is not something that A21 can single-handedly change necessarily, but you're working with the justice system as well.
For sure. We have seen, we represented 87 survivors in court this year, saw 26 traffickers convicted for like a combined sentence of 287 years, which is amazing. We've seen multiple life sentences, and so I think it's an important thing to recognize that human trafficking is kind of still being defined, and the definition of human trafficking kind of looks different in every country, and the judicial system in every country is different. And so there are a lot of just precedents that are being set as to how to try a case of human trafficking. And even just a few years ago, there was a stat that only 0.001% of traffickers are ever convicted of their crimes. So we believe it's super important to start making it high risk to be a trafficker. And there's this really amazing story that happened a few years ago in Greece. And so we had a survivor come into our care, and she had given us, the name and the information for the person who she was directly being trafficked by. And he postponed the court trial multiple times, and the last time he was no longer able to postpone it. And so he ended up giving up the name of like the main person who this survivor had never interacted with. And this is someone who the police in Greece had been looking for 10 years, had trafficked thousands of girls into Greece, was the owner of half of the local brothels in Greece, so was very, very well known. And so he had 9 lawyers against our 1 lawyer, and he was convicted of his crimes. And his grandson was as well, and we received death threats. We had to relocate our office. It was wild, but that was a sign to us that, hey, like, this is making an impact, because people know who this person is, and when they see that he's being held accountable for his crimes, they're going to realize that they may also be. And so it's kind of changing the tides of that, which we believe is so important. And also, we want the survivors to get justice, to feel like they get justice for what's been done against them.
Yeah, so it's a complex issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, and a lot of it is like everything we covered so far, but another aspect which you just talked about is actually letting people that are doing these crimes know that there are some serious consequences for their actions, which historically, it's crazy to me to hear this. It's kind of been a slap on the wrist kind of scenario. Like, yeah, you're doing some sex trafficking, here you go, do a little community service, which is crazy. And it shouldn't be like that. But there's definitely forces at play that are trying to change that.
Yeah, there was just a lack of definition on what human trafficking is, how to even try it. So a lot of times human trafficking cases were not being tried as trafficking cases. So obviously the sentences were not what it would be for a trafficking case. And so prosecutions are huge because that's where justice is served. And even recently in the US, we just won a case, and this trafficker received 3 life sentences for his crimes. And there were 4 survivors who were part of that trial and gave their testimonies against him, which is extremely brave and courageous of them, obviously, because they've endured so much trauma. But yeah, that's what we're seeing. So many more successful prosecutions, which is amazing.
So huge, giant issue. Emily and I have been talking for an hour straight and only just scratching the surface, really. But I do want some actionable stuff here. Obviously, this truck's going to be raffled off. We're going to try and raise as much money for you guys as possible. But what are some ways that people can either get involved kind of with what A21's doing, but as a bigger picture, just kind of help spread information, help be aware of everything. Like, what are some things we can
great
do?
Question. And I think everything with what we're doing with this truck is a huge step, like a great first step in involvement, because all of that money is going to go towards all of our operations all over the world, all of the things that we've been talking about. It's going to support all those different things. But we have volunteer opportunities. All of our offices around the world have volunteer opportunities, so you can go online, you can apply. You know, if you're interested in actually like becoming part of the fight against human trafficking as like a full-time capacity, like you want to work as like a full-time employee of A21, we have job opportunities, but also we have opportunities to be involved in different events. So we have every year, third Saturday of every October, we have what's called our Walk for Freedom. So Walk for Freedom.
Just missed it.
I know, we just missed it. But it takes place in over 50 countries all over the world on one day, where people rise up in their city. They spread awareness to their local businesses. We provide, of course, all the flyers, information, everything you need, and then everyone participates in a walk. So we walk for freedom, showing that there are more of us against slavery than for it. And there's news stations that cover it, of course, and it's again spreading awareness and educating people on the problem. So Walk for Freedom is awesome, and registration is free. You can fundraise with a team, fundraise with a group. So many opportunities to be involved. And then on World Day Against Trafficking, which is the end of July, we have what's called our Global Freedom Summit. And so basically that's a broadcast. So you can invite people into your home. If you have a business, you can watch it with your employees. And basically we pick a topic each year to bring education around the problem of human trafficking. So this year we talked about methods of recruitment, like the Loverboy Scenario, like false job opportunities, and we bring education that way. But even what we were talking about earlier with all of the education resources that we provide, that's a huge way to get involved. That's a massive way to get involved. We also have fundraisers, so especially for all, like everyone who's outdoorsy, if you mountain bike, if you hike, you can do a fundraiser that's based on like you climbing a mountain, based on you like conquering this incredible like mountain bike path. And so you can fundraise in that scenario. So even our founder, Christine Kane, she was gonna climb Mount Whitney this year. And so she was doing a massive fundraiser on there. The fires ended up stopping it, but she's gonna do it next year. And so fundraising is a huge way to do it as well.
Okay, cool. So a lot of ways to kind of actively get involved with everything going on. And then like we talked about a little bit earlier, if you are in one of these, if you work at TSA or you're a flight attendant or a police officer or a nurse or whatever, there's a lot of educational resources out there so that you can really help identify these things, ideally prevent them from happening, but also if you can catch them in the act, it makes tracking these people down much easier.
Yeah, we had a story about a young girl in the States. She was 15 years old, and she was part of a Loverboy Scenario, and she ended up getting beaten really badly by her boyfriend, and she was admitted to the hospital, and the nurse who was on duty was able to recognize that she could potentially be a victim of human trafficking, and that's how she got connected to our care, which is incredible. So it's like, never underestimate the part you can play. Like, yes, it's a massive issue, but there's so many things that can be done, and we each get to play our specific role.
Yeah, whew, big convoluted mess of an issue that affects way more people than most people realize.
Totally.
So big, huge global issue. Every minute there's someone getting taken into slavery, and as often as possible getting them out of slavery as well.
Yes, for sure.
So that's an issue that's been on my heart for a long time. That's why like a lot of people maybe think like, oh, you're building a big cool truck and why is the money going to human trafficking? It's because I was made aware of the issue years back, and ever since then it's just been a big issue that's been on my heart. And I think the more people that are like that and kind of actively doing something in whatever capacity they can do it, whether that's awareness or volunteering or just getting more educated or whatever, there's really a lot you can do. There's a lot that anyone can do.
And even on our website, you can go and we have a Join the Fight tab, and it's all the opportunities that we were just talking about, education, volunteering, etc. And you can click through and see all of those different opportunities.
Cool. So this has been good. It's been super eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
Super stoked to be a part of this project with
Yeah.
Diamondback, obviously, and partnered with A21. If you guys didn't know, I think I may have mentioned it earlier, but the raffle for this truck is live now.
Let's go.
So for those that just want to win the truck and don't care about anything else, well, we're kind of forcing you to care a
Yeah,
little bit. But you can win the truck. And for those that just want to support an amazing cause with an opportunity to win a truck, that's all available right now at freedomtremor.com. So huge thanks to Diamondback and all the other sponsors that have jumped on board for this truck build and partnering with A21. Thanks to Emily for coming out and kind of educating me and all of us on this issue. I'll leave a bunch of links down below in the video description right down here so you can learn more, get involved, try to win this truck.
Totally.
All those kinds of things, but we're going to continue this drive. Hopefully the weather clears up a little bit.
Looks like it's starting to.
And we'll kind of say our goodbyes and closing remarks and whatever, but it's been a great drive for me.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. Really appreciate all the insight you've been able to give me.
Totally,
Emily,
and we're super thankful because this money is going to go a long way, and it's going to be the difference between freedom and slavery for so many people.
Yeah.
And that's what's on the line here, really.
Yeah, no better use of money in my mind. So, sweet. Okay, so we're back at my house now, and actually blue skies and nice weather. We should have just filmed the whole thing here, maybe. But hopefully that driving footage came through all right.
Yeah.
But Emily, we talked more on the drive, really, and I was like, this is kind of heavy.
Totally.
This is kind of like gets me emotional. But
Like stirs up a lot of different emotions.
there's good stuff. There's positive.
so many good things happening.
Yeah.
And that's even like how I mentioned all the successful prosecutions that have happened. We've had more survivors come into our care this year than ever before, like record-breaking numbers. So there's so much happening in every arena. So there is hope for sure. Things are changing. Good. And ground is being taken and good things are happening. And we have this phrase at A21 where we say we fight for the one. So we focus on like that survivor who has come into our care, and we're like, we will give all of our efforts here. And now we're seeing them starting to come in droves. We had an operation that took place in Ukraine where 130 victims of human trafficking were rescued at one time.
Awesome.
Like, isn't that insane? That's amazing.
That's good. So, big ugly problem.
Yep.
But strides are being made continually.
Yeah.
And working to end it. So huge thanks to A21 for doing what they're doing. Huge thanks, obviously, to Diamondback.
Totally.
Over here, all the other sponsors. I have a bunch of video. I have a whole playlist on this truck. So if you're wondering about info on the truck and the build partners and everything, I got all that on the channel. But freedomtremor.com, you can find more information on A21, the truck, how to enter the raffle, win this truck, raise money, and help put an end to human trafficking and slavery.
Totally.
So thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
Guys.
And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, comment them down below. Again, I'll put a bunch of links in the video description for that. So yeah, until next time, guys.
We're out.
Take care.